Welcome to the 12th episode of the HKN Connection. My name is Katie. I'm a former student governor as well as the co-chair of the PR and Communications Committee of HKN, also a PhD candidate in electrical engineering, and I'll be your host for today. Our topic for today is HKN and philanthropy. And with us, we have two really great guests. We have Nancy Ostin and Karen Galuchie. Nancy Ostin is the director of IEEE-HKN, which you probably all know is the Honor Society of IEEE. And Karen Galuchie is the executive director of the IEEE Foundation, which is the philanthropic partner of IEEE. So welcome, Karen and Nancy. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you taking the time and talking with us about this really important topic that, affects all of our organizations. Mm-hmm. So to get us started, let's kind of give our audience just a little bit of context. So could you tell us a little bit about what philanthropy is, and in the context of IEEE and HKN? And Karen, if you'd like to get us started, that would be great.
It would be a great honor. Thank you, Katie. Great to be here today. So philanthropy seeks to address pressing global challenges and make a real and lasting change in people's lives. To achieve a culture of philanthropy, a community must be willing to share their time, talent, and treasure to effect real and true transformation. For me, the culture of philanthropy is totally baked into the DNA of Eta Kappa Nu. It is embodied in your guiding tenets of scholarship, attitude, and character. So it is through the members and friends of Eta Kappa Nu giving of their time, talent, and treasure that Eta Kappa Nu as an organization is able to impact individual chapters as well as serve the global community for the work that you do.
Wonderful. And so speaking of the important role that our members play, Nancy, could you tell us a little bit about how HKN members, students, alumni, professionals, how do they donate their time and talent to, allow our organization to do what it does?
Well, great. And thank you, Katie. And it's great to be here with my foundation partner, Karen. Really appreciate it. We work together very closely, and it's a really important relationship, and it's for the sustainability of Eta Kappa Nu. But the beautiful thing about Eta Kappa Nu, yes, it's an honor society, and yes, we seek to recognize excellence in academics and other areas of personally a young person's life. And really, and sometimes you can think of it at its core like an award. So these students they've earned it. Nobody gets Eta Kappa Nu. Everybody works really hard for it. And in addition to that scholarship criteria, we have two other criteria, which are attitude and character. And I love the word attitude. Some people say leadership, but a lot of it is about a positive attitude. And that and the character, not only about ethics, is about not what you get when you become Eta Kappa Nu, but what you get to give because you're Eta Kappa Nu. So Eta Kappa Nu is, people always ask me, what's the benefit? And there certainly are benefits, and it's a lifelong designation. Eta Kappa Nu is yours forever. It's a recognition of your accomplishments, but it's really about what you get to give. And that's where things get really exciting in Eta Kappa Nu, is because, the part of the charge, and Katie, here you are, volunteering and giving so much of your time. We can talk about all the many things that Katie does and how many, many people like her support the mission and vision of Eta Kappa Nu. It's through people like Katie, the board, lots of other volunteers who serve on committees, but particularly in our chapters. So every member who joins Eta Kappa Nu is really charged with how are you going to go and make your community, our world, a better place. That is a major tenet of Eta Kappa Nu. And in the induction ritual, which everyone shares in, everyone who's Eta Kappa Nu who's ever become Eta Kappa Nu has gone through, we talk about that, and it's really critical to our mission. Mm-hmm. I can say in a regular year, Eta Kappa Nu chapters, perform about close to 90,000 hours of community service. And that's things that they do for others. It's not stuff that they do just for themselves. It's not going to a fun event, although they do that. It's not just having, great camaraderie and other kinds of things that build community and develop relationships that are so valuable throughout your life. These are things they do in service to others, like tutoring, exam preps, preparing students for exams, teaching complex concepts to others, working with younger undergraduates, first and second year students. You know this, Katie, because your chapter does this, putting on all kinds of programs that really help others succeed. Mm-hmm. And that's really the success model of EdCap is, the member learns through giving. The member learns through doing. The member, again, someone like yourself. I mean, Katie, could you have imagined you doing a podcast or being the head PR committee as an electrical engineer? I mean, you do a NASA project, but here you are, you're building your skill sets through giving in EdCap. And I have to say, in those hours that our chapters perform, this past academic year, I mean, so far they've reported almost 4,000 hours of service in K through 12 STEM outreach. And so those are our chapters, our students like you going out in the community, connecting with other community organizations, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, grade schools, high schools, middle schools, and making sure that we encourage STEM in the community, which is really critical. We encourage young people to consider careers and understand engineering and concepts. So these are really important things to do. And like I said, it's, again, something I always say givers get, right? So when you give of yourself, you get so much more. Mm-hmm. And you learn to develop your leadership skills, which is the model of EdCap. So again, it's really all about what you get to give and the platform and opportunity to provide you as a member and through your affiliation with EdCap.
Definitely. And I think something you said, it's all about like the power of giving. I think that's really impactful, mm-hmm. and you get so much out of giving as well. So we've talked a little bit about, how chapters volunteer and give their time and help their communities, but there's also opportunities too for alumni and professionals to give and get involved and, donate their time and their talent to help make our organization great. So could you talk a little bit about, what some of those volunteer opportunities are for non-students and how they can get involved with those?
Sure. Well, regular year, pre-COVID year, we would be inducting about 3,000 students a year. We're reaching about 60 to 70% of that even coming out of COVID. So our chapters are getting back together and inducting and doing those things, which is why we see our hours up around 62,000 hours right now. But for others, for alumni and others, if you were inducted, because we call alumni anybody who was ever inducted at EdCap because it's a lifetime designation, it's always yours. And for our professional members, there's opportunities to serve on the board. We have a 13-member board which governs EdCap. They do a lot of things. We have about 14 committees. We have everything from an alumni committee, which is a lot of fun. Katie's been helping the young alumni committee a little bit, even though she's on the graduate student task force right now. But we have opportunities with our chapter and ritual committee. So working with our chapters and making sure that we develop and continue the rituals of the traditions of EdCap. We publish a magazine called The Bridge, which is exciting. And The Bridge has been published continuously since 1910. I mean, it's amazing to me. It's how long it's been published. But we have an editorial board, and we look for people to help us with that. We have many awards. We have Outstanding Chapter Award, Outstanding Student Award, Outstanding Professional Award, Distinguished Service Award, the ASAE and Technical Achievement Award. And we're looking at some other programs for graduate students and for our faculty advisors. So there's certainly lots of opportunities in the areas of awards to recognize people what they give. And we do a number of conferences. So we do look for volunteers to help us on our conferences. We're doing the Student Leadership Conference, for instance, in 2 weeks, but we do a Pathways to Industry Conference. We do an HKN Experience, and we do other kinds of one-off webinars, offerings, things to meet the needs. And Katie's going to talk about some new things like our Grad Lab or our Young Alumni podcast that's coming up. So we have lots of opportunities to volunteer. I can connect you with your chapter of origin or a chapter that's local. So if you'd like to work directly with the chapter, we have opportunities for that. If you'd like to volunteer at the board level, we have lots of opportunities for that. Now, Katie, you're working with volunteers right now on something we launched last year called our Successful Chapter Database, where we look at the most successful practices of chapters. Katie and her team is a team of volunteers have been editing those, preparing those. So every chapter who wants to seek out the most successful practices that are happening out there in all of EdCap worldwide can read about and resource from the most successful practices of other chapters. So something short-term like that we have. So, and that's been pretty successful, you know, and we need people to help with that.
Right, definitely. So I would say the best way to kind of find some of these opportunities, or, you know, put your name in the running to volunteer, is probably go to our website. We do have some forms on there where you can, you know, enter your information and what you would like to volunteer about. So if any of these things sounded really interesting to you, you can go do that right now. That link is also in the episode description for this episode. So really easy. You can just scroll down a little bit and get that and fill that out.
Right.
But there's also 2 opportunities for, you know, kind of interfacing between these groups as well. You know, students can volunteer at the board level or get involved with some of these committees. Our social media subcommittee is full of students from all over the world. So,
and you know, we have two voting members of the board that are students. So I'm really proud of this, because this happened. You know, I've been at HKN now 9 years, and I went to the board just not quite 9 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and said, as an organization that does a lot of representation of student needs, we need a student voting member. And we had one, and then they expanded it to 2. So Katie has been one of those. We have 2 fabulous student governors right now. We've had great student governors throughout the year. So HKN so believes in the value that our students bring, that we give them a vote. So Katie, you know, you've been a voting member of the board, and you know, we really take this very seriously. And we want, you know, volunteer engagement. It's your organization. You know, I have the privilege getting to work with all of you, but it's really your organization, members of HKN, and those in the community that want to make sure that this 117-year tradition continues and changes to meet the needs of today, and you know, grows and thrives. So it's your organization. So I invite you in. Invite you in.
Great. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, all the different programs that are going on within HKN, and, you know, all the different people involved too. Do you have any stories you'd like to share about kind of the impact of this work, and, you know, how it's really helping our members develop themselves into better, you know, professionals, better citizens, you know, better people out there in the world?
You know, and again, having 9 years now with HKN, I have the benefit of knowing people like you when they were students, and others, and you know, meeting people that have been members of HKN for 50, 60, 70 years sometimes, and sharing in their stories and what HKN meant to them. And when I read Alumni Reconnects, because there's the ability to do that, if you're at HKN and we're not communicating with you, please contact us. There's an Alumni Reconnect form on the website. We want to hear from you. Everyone talks about, you know, the impact of being, when they were young, realizing that, you know, wow, I've accomplished this, you know, the confidence that it gave someone, right? So, you know, even a former president, Jim Jeffries of IEEE, who was at HKN at the University of Nebraska, said, wow, I was so thrilled when someone said to me, I could qualify for this, that my work was going to be recognized, my hard work as a student. And I talked to so many people about that. Number one, the confidence that it brings you. And then others have talked to me about what you learn through giving, what you learn through leadership. So teaching others complex concepts enables you, and one of our former presidents of the Alpha chapter, Liana, you know, talks about what she learned as a president, and is in terms of doing the exam preps and other courses for students at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and how when she went to work at ARM, it helped her work with customers and clients, because again, now she's got to explain concept complex about engineering and solutions to non-engineers and to people who had different levels of understanding, and how that also helped her work in teams, how it helped her manage a team, and, you know, again, bring together a diverse group of people in order to serve a customer in an engineering solution. And one of your good colleagues, Joe Green, who's a current student governor at BU, and he's a PhD candidate as well. Joe talks to me about, he goes, Nancy, I have learned so many new things by my time on the board about meetings and governance, how to organize my time to volunteer, how to go talk to other people. And a lot of people talk to me about that. As leaders in HKN, you need to go talk to other people. You need to manage up. You know, talk to others who said, other students, particularly Rafi Kadobi, who I can think of out in California, when he had to go to his department chair and to really get support for his HKN chapter, how he learned about managing up. And one of our other candidates for Governor, Ashley, how she came in, she said, this gave me a way to talk to professors and, really help me get over maybe my fear of being able to do that. I had a platform and something to talk about. I could talk to them about meeting their needs and how it's made them better students today. And so many young people come back and say, wow, this has been such a meaningful experience for me of what I've learned to do. So it's more than just tutoring. Mm-hmm. It's really about that soft skill set that employers talk about. I talk to industry a lot. And really, how do you go to work and work with a bunch of people? Getting volunteers organized to do things is hard. Katie, you do it. Karen's so shaking her head too. But the managerial skills, the communication skills, the interpersonal skills, the emotional intelligence you learn by doing those things is a critical success factor as you enter your career and the rest of your life. And most times people don't know where they learn them, but they, there are that come back and we talk about it and they come back and share their stories. So, the impact is great. And even I meet people at HKN alums with one that I can think of. He's a wonderful person. He just celebrated last year 50 years of HKN. And he goes back and he talks about really how that was such a formative experience for him. Mm-hmm. And, again, he's, working with us today to help us do a lot of other things because it meant so much to him as a young person at Beta Chapter, Purdue, over 50 years ago.
Couldn't agree more. There's so much impact that, it's hard to even quantify it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure we could tell stories all afternoon about, all the great people that have been a part of HKN and the impact that the organization has had on them too. So now that we've kind of talked about, the time and the talent components of philanthropy, let's also talk about the treasure component. So, obviously doing all these programs, it does require financial resources. It does take financial resources to run an organization like this. So can you talk a little bit about, what percentage of the HKN annual budget comes from philanthropic treasure, and what are some of the philanthropic priorities of HKN as an organization?
I'm happy to, Katie. This is something that sometimes people it just happens, right? So people just imagine it happens in the background because HKN students do pay a one-time fee, which is about $40 once in their lifetime. So if you can imagine, even if we induct 3,000 students a year, it doesn't cover all the expenses of running an organization today, and all the, if you really want to have a dynamic organization that's able to work with 268 chapters and thousands of people. We do have a restricted fund or an endowment, if you would, in the IEEE Foundation. That provides about 40% of our annual needs. I think at one point the hope is that restricted fund would be able to provide for most of our needs, but as things become more expensive, as things grow, as the programs develop, it's only meeting about 40% of our needs annually. We get about 10, 15, in a good year, 20%. These years have been less in fees that we charge. So, students do pay some dues. They make a contribution through the one-time induction fee. And we do run conferences and sell a few ads on our bridge in order to provide about another 20% of our income. And in other years we've been able to raise more money, but this time it leaves about 20% of our budget, about $150,000 gap in our budget, probably rising to about $200,000 a year that we need to be raising either by increasing our restricted fund so that we have that annual payout from the endowment, or that we need to be raising each year in order to maintain the level of support that we currently give to our chapters and to our program, to be able to develop and be putting on dynamic program in service to the membership and others, because HKN is for everyone in some senses, because we do a lot of things for others. So it does leave that gap in our budget of about $150,000, and we're anticipating that to grow to about $200,000 a year. So that's the philanthropy that we need to develop annually in order to meet those budget needs.
Great.
And to deliver the program, it's really about the program. It's really about the service. It's not a budget thing. It's really about what is our goal and our mission, and what is it going to take to deliver on that mission. So that's where we are in terms of the financial part of HKN.
Definitely. Thank you for explaining that. I think that, kind of demystifies the process a little bit for everybody, and, what it takes to run an organization that's international and is as far-reaching as Eta Kappa Nu. So,
right. I mean, we're a whole society, right? We have a publication, conferences, membership of over 10,000, active members, 50,000 alumni we work with. We have awards, programs for all levels of students. I mean, it's not a we take in when we process memberships. We do that, but there's so much more in terms of serving and developing those leaders of our chapters and others that are going to be able to go out and organize your chapter in a way. Because not all chapters are the same. One of our, I know maybe you're going to ask about our priorities right now.
Mm-hmm.
One of our priorities is a chapter support initiative. And that chapter support initiative is, what if, we looked at this and said, what if every chapter was a well-supported chapter that was able to have enough money to run program and do things, and we could make sure, work on the transition of officers year to year, make sure chapters didn't go dormant, support the faculty advisors, provide some funding, because right now Eta Kappa Nu chapters, receive no funding from us. There's no money, no room in the budget for that. So we have a priority around a chapter support initiative. And so again, what if every chapter, we were able to support every chapter, train all the officers, be able to engage in a much more dynamic way. And so that's really a priority of ours, and how we're going to fund that going forward. We're talking about some initial funding, but that's going to take quite a bit of, that's going to take quite a bit of money each year. And so I know one donor that we're talking to about that, comes from a chapter it's very well supported, it's beta chapter, great chapter. But he said, I wish every student had the chance to belong to a chapter like I did, like my chapter is today. And so, again, this became, we talked to the board, we talked to lots of alumni, they said, this is really important to us. How can we help all the chapters be well supported, be prepared to do what they need to go do, and really support all the students? The other priority is our alumni. It's really our greatest untapped resource. And so, we need to connect with alumni. I have to say, Eta Kappa Nu, before the merger with IEEE, I don't think did a very good job in keeping touch with and reaching out to the alumni. So as we bring alumni in, and like I said, if you're an alum and you're listening to this and we're not communicating with you, please get in touch with us, because we want to be. There's lots of opportunities for our alumni to get engaged. So how do we go out and reach out, find, and engage our alumni? I believe our alumni could be very instrumental in not only with our financial needs and their generosity, and some are already, but certainly we think we can do a lot more in that area. And those that we get to talk to have been very generous. And we invite all of you to think about how you can support Eta Kappa Nu with your treasure. But how else do we find them and engage them so that we keep them involved? We're doing a program with our young alumni. About that. There's a podcast coming up. We work to them about what our young alumni need. We're doing some alumni receptions to connect with alumni. So the alumni initiative and how we can build maybe an online way to connect alumni, some other programs to keep them involved, is really a great priority of ours. And the third one is our Student Leadership Conference. And our Student Leadership Conference, which is coming up in 2 weeks, hopefully we'll go back to be face-to-face, we would like to be able to get every chapter there. Right now, we can't do that. We certainly can put on the conference, but we really can't afford to help chapters get there. These are students. Sometimes the departments help a little bit. We'll always have them contribute some financially to it. But we would like to be able to, in order to help those chapter leaders develop, help those chapter leaders be prepared, the incoming leaders, we'd like to be able to once a year put together a student leadership conference where every chapter could be included. Mm-hmm. And so that's another great giving priority and initiative of ours, is how do we do that so that we can, really actively engage, empower, enable those leaders to go out and, take on the challenges that are the mission of Eta Kappa Nu. So those are the three priorities. There's a lot of things going on within them. But again, we're really focused on these three giving priorities and invite people to learn more and maybe figure out how you might want to, what kind of thing most interests you. And I'd love to talk to anyone who wants to talk about any of this. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Great. Thank you, Nancy. So now that we've talked about, what are the priorities and the different ways to give to HKN, let's talk a little bit more about, the mechanics of giving. So Karen, could you tell us a little bit about how people give from annual giving all the way up to estate gifts. How does that process work?
Absolutely. And Eta Kappa Nu depends on donations ranging from what we would call an annual gift, so something that you would do through your IEEE dues renewal, which is really the simplest way to make a donation, or mail. We take checks. We also take online gifts at IEEE.org/donate. Many people who work, many of our alumni, Eta Kappa Nu alumni, and others who work for a company with a matching gift program will leverage that and get their gift matched, typically dollar for dollar. And some companies are now beginning to monetize your volunteer hours, so you can turn that donation of time and talent into a monetary gift of treasure if your company has a volunteer matching hours, which is an incredible way to give. Many Eta Kappa Nu members who are in the U.S., this is a U.S. giving construct, who are 70 and a half or older, are taking advantage of what's called the IRA charitable rollover provision. And that's where they're gifting their required minimum distribution from their 401k or their IRA instead of taking it as taxable income. You can think of that as tax avoidance. You don't get a tax deduction, it's more tax avoidance. In upmarket years, some donors choose to gift marketable securities. We're really proud when some IEEE and Eta Kappa Nu members decide to elevate IEEE to the level of family and include us in their estate plans by leaving us a bequest in their will or their trust. Some will name us as the beneficiary of their retirement plan, which there are a lot of tax benefits for doing that, or for your life insurance policy. Now, for some who don't feel they have a capacity to make an outright gift, but they shop on Amazon, they take advantage of Amazon Smile. So if you shop at smile.amazon.com and pick the IEEE Foundation, the IEEE Foundation actually receives a portion of your purchase, 0.5% typically. Sometimes they run a special where it goes up. Now, I just ran through a ton of options, and you can find more information about that on the IEEE Foundation's website at www.IEEEfoundation.org, or email anyone on the IEEE Foundation team. And if you pick donate at IEEE.org, one of us would be happy to engage with you to find the right giving method and match you up to your area of interest of all of the wonderful things Nancy just said Eta Kappa Nu is trying to expand upon.
Because we do have some specific funds, right? So we have a fund specifically in support of the Student Leadership Conference. So if that's of interest to you, that money can only be used for the Student Leadership Conference. We have the endowment, and we also have right now we have our annual fund, which goes into our operations. So it supports the regular operations. But if you were interested in endowing an award, we're looking for endowments for those awards. We have those opportunities, and we have some other things that might really be of interest to you if you'd like to see them continue, and maybe that's a great way for you to give. So you can decide, very much pick where your dollars go, and we're happy to make sure that your dollars are spent in the area that's most important to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and additionally too, if you go to our website, hkn.org, right on the top menu bar, there's a button that says, donate now. That'll bring you to our page on the IEEE Foundation website. So that's, a quick, easy way to get there. That's also linked in the episode description. So, if you want to get there quickly, you don't want to navigate the website, that's in the episode description as well.
Right. Because I think the foundation holds our funds, but, the money you give to Eta Kappa Nu is only used for Eta Kappa Nu.
That's right.
So, again, you can feel very confident when you give a gift to an Eta Kappa Nu fund through the foundation that money will be directed right back to Eta Kappa Nu and be used for program support.
Right. So throughout this episode, we have talked a little bit about what the IEEE Foundation is and, how HKN interfaces with them and how all this system works. But, Karen, could you kind of just go over a little bit about, what is that system like, or that relationship like between HKN and the IEEE Foundation? And, just to reiterate too, if somebody does send a gift to the foundation for HKN, does it get to HKN? How does that work?
It absolutely gets to Eta Kappa Nu. So I can't amplify enough the last thing Nancy said. When somebody makes a donation for the benefit of Eta Kappa Nu, that is where the IEEE Foundation directs it. So we call ourselves IEEE's philanthropic partner. Our role in IEEE's ecosystem is to inspire philanthropic investment in IEEE programs like Eta Kappa Nu. We have proudly partnered with Eta Kappa Nu since the merger into IEEE. I believe that's 11 years ago. Hard to believe, but it's 11 years ago now, because I was there at the very beginning and helping to integrate it in. And as Nancy said, we manage several funds on behalf of Eta Kappa Nu that support a wide variety of philanthropic activities. We have a board of 12 very dedicated IEEE volunteers that serve on the IEEE Foundation Board of Directors. And we always welcome one of our non-voting members is a representative from the Eta Kappa Nu Board of Governors. So there are very strong ties between the two organizations. We are excited to always partner with Eta Kappa Nu. The community is just such a big-hearted, energized, and enthusiastic group. So it's always a pleasure.
Great. And so how are donors then recognized by the foundation? Since the foundation is, IEEE's philanthropic partner, how is the foundation recognizing these people that are giving and being so generous?
So one of our absolute favorite things to do is to celebrate our donors, because without our donors, we can't do so much of the programming, because giving is really about impact. So what we do, first and foremost, we do have our IEEE Heritage Circle, which is our cumulative giving recognition group, and we call them our honored philanthropists. So we recognize them across 6 levels of giving, starting at $10,000. So once an individual has made a gift of $10,000 or more, they initially start in the Tesla level and Bell level, and you can find more about that program on the foundation's website. Our second group is our IEEE Goldsmith Legacy League, and this is where we celebrate our legacy and estate giving donors who are forever generous because they've included us in their estate plans and lifted us to the level of family. We also proudly feature our donors through what we call donor profiles, and you'll see some of those in Eta Kappa Nu publications. Most recently, actually, we've featured, you know her quite well, Katie. It's Sarah Ayala. She is the Dean Emeritus from the institution where you're getting your graduate degree from, and she's a foundation board member. We've also recently featured Joe Hughes, who has decided to lift Eta Kappa Nu to the level of family and include an estate gift. So we love to tell donor stories. We love to share it both through video and written articles, and you'll normally see one in the bridge. And it's a great way to share the story and excite people about the opportunities to give. And if you are a donor to Eta Kappa Nu and you want to share your story, just let us know. We'd love to profile you.
Great. And I think a great way to kind of find these stories, read up on them if you're interested, is go to the social media pages of the IEEE Foundation, as well as Eta Kappa Nu as well. Like Karen said, in the bridge, our publication, you can find that on our website. So, those stories I think are so powerful and so inspiring to read about. And so definitely encourage you to go check them out.
So again, Katie, when the SLC was in person, hopefully next year, usually our students, help us write notes back to donors. So I know donors love to get those, and I can't wait till we're back in person to do that. This year we sent some videos. I know one of your other colleagues on the board, Sandro, did a video back to our donors and talked about how much he's, a chapter that we just formed in Italy 4 years ago, and what it's meant to him to be involved. So, we do look for ways to thank donors and recognize them, invite them in. When we have the SLC in person, we invite donors to come visit. And we'll be, as we do these alumni receptions, we can't wait to meet with you in person and introduce you to other students and connect you in other ways. So always happy to work with our donors. We're really grateful to them.
Yeah, definitely. And so speaking of chapters too, Nancy, do you have any advice for our chapters that want to engage in philanthropy?
Thank you. Yeah. So again, chapters often get approached, and one of the, sometimes alumni approach them and they want to make sure they support their chapter. And, if there is a large gift that someone wants to give to a chapter in support of them, they should contact me and I'll work with Karen, and the foundation can hold that gift so that they can accept that gift, so it can be considered a charitable gift rather than just, that if that's the interest of the donor. But what we're working with our chapters, particularly for like Founders Day, which is coming up on October 28th, celebrating 117 years, is working with chapters on how they do reach out to their alumni and invite them, yes, to be donors, but also to engage them in the program. Alumni so much love being on alumni panels and talking about what's it like to work in engineering and giving advice. But they also like to be able to support their chapters or support Eta Kappa Nu. So there is a way, chapters, if you're not doing it, if you're listening to this podcast, to run a list of everyone who was ever inducted into your chapter. I mean, Katie's with a chapter at NU at Iowa State that's over 100 years old. So you've run your alumni history. You have a vast alumni history. Some chapters are newer, but they still have alumni. So again, I think through alumni engagement, it's a great way for chapters to reach out and ask for alumni support in time, talent, and treasure. And certainly we can help direct some of that support if it's of a substantial nature and people want to make sure they get a charitable deduction for that donation. The foundation and IEEE Eta Kappa Nu can work with you to make that happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one of the silver linings of doing a lot of things virtually this year is that it's been easier to invite alumni back and, engage them in different activities. Even our chapter here at Iowa State, we did an alumni panel last fall where we just had a Zoom call with some alumni and we're able to ask them questions, engage with them. We've been able to invite some alumni to our virtual induction ceremonies and involve them in that process as well, of welcoming our newest members to the chapter. And, those things are been really great and really exciting for us to get to hear those stories, engage with them, and form those connections too, pull them back into the chapter, and, because it's their home too, and we want them to be a part of all of the things our chapter is doing.
There's so much warm feelings, the chapter that inducted you. I mean, Katie and I were inducted into the same chapter, so we know this. So originally she's a Gamma Theta, and she's at new chapter now. So actually, I was inducted as a professional. So Katie and I were inducted together. I'm really proud of that, Katie. I've got a great photo of us. But your chapter means a lot to you, and I understand that because at a time in your life when you were really finding out who you are as an engineer, as a student, as a young person, thinking about your career and what you want to do with your life, this was a really formative experience. So I understand there's a great relationship back to that chapter. So we really want to connect you back with your chapters. And then, I know I've been able to bring alumni back to new chapter. I mean, our current president of IEEE Eta Kappa Nu, Ron Jensen, is new chapter, so he's a big fan. We have another member, John McWilliams, who actually is an alumnus that contacted me years ago when we had the Student Leadership Conference in Ames, and he came down with his wife, and I know he's been really connected and great to the chapter as well. So these are, this legacy and this connection is another great benefit, right? So you're not just connected today because you're a student here on campus, you're connected forever. There's lots of famous people that are at Eta Kappa Nu, and I know those are tougher to get in touch with. I work with Henry Samueli. He's, his foundation just gave us a gift to help the SLC, and he's very interested in helping us out in some ways, and that would be great. And Henry was inducted at UCLA, the Iota Gamma chapter. But again, those relationships are so formative and so interesting that it's one of those great benefits. You are connected to people who have been there, whether it be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 50 years ago. Well, Henry, not 50, but I mean, I don't know. How long ago was it for Ron? It was kind of years ago. He's listening probably, and I
know on the foundation board, we have a member, John McDonald, who was inducted 50 years ago, and he's incredibly proud of the fact. Actually, I think we've recently profiled him as well. That he's been Eta Kappa Nu for 50 years, and he's so excited by that fact. And Beta chapter, correct?
Beta chapter. He's from Purdue. So
back to Purdue.
He's a Beta. They're pretty awesome. So betas know what I'm talking about. If you're a beta and you've been to the lounge at Purdue, you know exactly. The HKN lounge is a is a
the
tradition.
rest of us are totally jealous of their student lounge.
Totally jealous. Well, Katie, you guys have some great stuff at Iowa State.
Definitely. So I think, throughout our conversation, we've talked a lot about the different ways people give, the impact of giving, but, let's try to answer a really big question here of, why do people give? And Karen, if you could try to address this one. I know it's a hard question.
Well, it's a very complex question. There's not a simple answer because the act of giving is incredibly personal. And everyone has different motivations, and those motivations will change throughout your lifetime. What was important to you in your 20s isn't necessarily the same thing that's important to you in the middle of your life and closer to the end. And only somebody who is older, like me, has any sense of that. So it's been an interesting experience. So people give, an easy rule of thumb is people give to what they believe in, what is important to them, and organizations that they trust. And Ada Kappa Nu has all of this in spades because of your alumni and your students are, and the induction ceremony. It just really brings people so much closer together and really engage into the organization. Many of our donors to the IEEE Foundation for Ada Kappa Nu are giving to, some use the term pay it forward, some say I want to give it back. But the concept is the same. They want to perpetuate something that meant something to them at a point in their life, and they want to make sure that the next generation has the same set of opportunities or even better opportunities than they had. And that is a real motivation for why a lot of people give to IEEE. Some give to pay tribute to someone or something. Some people will give to pay tribute to their chapter. Some people will give to pay tribute to the fact that it's IEEE Ada Kappa Nu Founders Day, right? We had a lot of people give last year gifts of $116 in honor of the 116th year of Ada Kappa Nu. So people give for lots of reasons in tribute. Others give simply because it speaks to their ethical and moral compass, which goes back to those tenets of scholarship, attitude, and character. But the good news is, no matter what a donor's reason is for giving, there is research that says giving is connected to happiness and contentment. So we invite you to give it a try and see if it does bring you some happiness and contentment by supporting IEEE Ada Kappa Nu.
Great, thank you so much. So as we, start to wrap up this episode, I was wondering if either of you have any final thoughts or anything that you would really like to reiterate or bring up again, maybe something we didn't get to. And Nancy, if you'd like to go first.
Certainly. I think one thing I like to tell people is that the board, and and Katie's involved with that, our students included, give it 100% to Ada Kappa Nu. So everyone who's involved, the staff as well, all of us, make personal contributions of a personally significant amount in order to, because we all believe in the organization so strongly. And I can say the people that I do get to talk to that have given really do feel good about it. I mean, Karen's right. I mean, giving is, most people say if I could do something, if I had money and I could do something with it, or even if I have a small amount of money, giving it to others and seeing others benefit from it really feels good. It definitely does. And I know, alumni I talk to a lot, and even current students, investing in our future, the future of engineering, the future of our world, the people that will be involved with solving the complex problems that are facing us as globally as we move forward, that want to make sure they provide opportunities for students. And like I said, these students don't just do for themselves, they help empower others. They help make sure other students succeed. I mean, Katie, you've done it, right? You work with younger students, so maybe they're not going to themselves become Ada Kappa Nu, but they're going to benefit from the Ada Kappa Nu program. I tell all my friends who are sending kids to school, I said, well, if you're taking your first course, you have to take a circuits course, seek out your EdCap chapter there, because they'll help you learn it. So EdCap in a sense is for everyone that's looking for that. And if you have a group in the community and you're looking for students to help out, we can connect you to your EdCap chapter, because EdCap students and people make great volunteers and they're looking to give back. So I think that cycle, that circle of giving, what again, like Karen said, paying it forward or paying it back, saying, boy, I was so lucky to have this, and I'd like to make sure others have it. And making sure that happens does really feel good. And we all believe in it as well. I mean, I believe very strongly in this. As you know, Katie and Karen, I'm very passionate about this, and I invite others to do that as well. There's lots I can talk to you about programs and how we're helping young alumni and graduate students and other populations of students that have communicated with us what they need, and how we're working with chapter officers and supporting faculty advisors. But again, you can reach me at info@hkn.org, pretty easy. And I'm happy to talk to anyone who'd like to talk about the priorities or some of these other programs or awards. We'd love to invite you in. And if you're at a company and you're not hearing from us, please connect with us, because we'd like to make sure you get to know about what's going on.
Great, thank you. And Karen, any final thoughts, anything you'd like to add?
Thanks, Katie. I'd like to amplify one of the things that we've covered here is, Ada Kappa Nu, and I've known Ada Kappa Nu since the merger 11 years ago, is really on the precipice of doing and delivering so many more initiatives to make the program and the organization much more robust and to make a larger impact on the community and the world at large. And as Nancy shared, so much of the growth needs to come through philanthropic giving that we can't stress enough the importance of connecting philanthropy with impact and growth in the future of Ada Kappa Nu and its ability to truly make a difference to address pressing global challenges both on the campus, whether it's through expanded services into the community at large or on the campus, or the work that's going to be done in the global community by Ada Kappa Nu Central, if you will, and the Board of Governors. So it is through philanthropy that Ada Kappa Nu is truly going to be able to grow, and the foundation is thrilled to be partnering with Ada Kappa Nu to be making all of this possible, and with the donor community. So we hope to be talking with you more. Nancy and I really just scratched the surface here. There's so many more, and there's opportunities that we would be thrilled to chat with anybody about.
Great, thank
so
you.
Please call us.
You're right. Because again, sometimes people just think, we just somehow have a budget, but really, philanthropy is critical, and our growth and our ability to deliver more, to deliver on the impact, is all impacted by philanthropy. So we can go and impact, we can deliver, but not without your financial support. Are we going to be able to do that? So we think if people learn about it, hopefully you'll choose that you want to make that happen and be part of that. It's fun. It's great stuff. It's really good stuff.
Definitely. So I think my final thought is, if any of this resonated with any of you listening, be sure to reach out. We do have those links in the description of our episode about how to donate, how to volunteer. We've mentioned too, info@hkn.org. That's an email address you can use to reach out. There's forms on our website as well, hkn.org. So definitely reach out if any of these things resonated with you. And additionally, too, I want to highlight a few of our programs that we have coming up. So next Tuesday, September 21st, we're having our first session of Grad Lab. And Grad Lab is, a kind of webinar, seminar series where we're going to, kind of talk about the unspoken rules of graduate school and, talk about that hidden curriculum. So what are the tips to thrive and succeed? How do you find a community, a support system? And, just know that you're not alone in this process of graduate school, which can be very, very challenging and sometimes isolating. So our goal with this program is to kind of, build up that support system, connect you with a community and show you that you're not alone in this process and give you other people to lean on. So our first session is going to be on September 21st, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. You can register. There's a link on our social media, so if you check us out on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you can find that link there and register. Dr. Karen Panetta is going to be leading these, and she's Dean of Graduate Studies for the Engineering College at Tufts University. So should be really great. Be sure you check it out.
Right, and everyone's invited, right? So this is if all graduate students, or if you're considering graduate school, you're all invited. So again, this is something we do for everyone.
Yes, it's not just for HKN, it's for everyone. So really encourage you to check that out. Another thing that we do have coming up too is the Student Leadership Conference, like Nancy mentioned. It's in 2 weeks. So starting October 2nd, there'll be a ton of great sessions, everything from tech talks to professional development talks, networking sessions, a recruitment fair with graduate schools and companies too. So if you are considering graduate school and you want to talk with some graduate school recruiters, this is a great opportunity to do that, as well as social events and award ceremony, keynote speakers. So it should be a really great time. It's an amazing program packed full of great information and also chances to meet with fellow HKN members from around the world. We're also going to have some sessions focused on developing your chapter and helping your chapter succeed too. So that'll be really great. You can go to our website to register. It's right on the homepage. You can find the link there. Early bird rates end today, so if you want to get that rate, be sure you register right after this if you're an HKN member. And then after that, registration will be open up until the event itself. So be sure you check that out. And then lastly, Founders Day. So we mentioned this as well during our episode. It's October 28th. And this year our theme is our HKN story. So we really want to hear about, what HKN means to you, the history of your chapter, the legacy of your chapter, and put that all together because we're the sum of parts. It's every person, every chapter, every member. That's what makes HKN what it is. So we want to hear about your story and how that fits into our HKN story. You can go to our website. We're having a video competition for our chapters, as well as a way for alumni to submit their stories, either written testimonies, short videos, voice clips. We're going to put this all together to really tell our HKN story on October 28th. So be sure you check that out as well. And then lastly too, Giving Tuesday, November 30th. Be on the lookout for that. It's a great opportunity or a great reminder to kind of take everything you've heard today and put it into practice. So with that, I'd like to, again, one more time, thank Karen and Nancy for being with us today, for talking with us, answering all these questions, providing all this wonderful information. We really appreciate you taking the time. I think it's been very valuable for our listeners. And too, if you're watching today or listening, be sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on all the different podcast platforms so you don't miss any other episodes in the future. And with that, thank you one more time, and thank you to all the listeners, and have a great rest of your day.
Have an happy time today.
Take care, everybody.